Hello, this is Curt Pringle. Thank you for tuning in again to our Talking Issues series. We're doing it a little different today. We're changing it up and I want to introduce you to a friend of mine who we first met when he participated in a fundraiser. It was a comedy fundraiser, and I actually asked a friend to put together some clean comics so I could have a family-friendly discussion, a family-friendly entertainment opportunity. So at the Doubletree Hotel here in Orange, we had this event, and we had it for many years after that. So this is my friend Nazareth. So thank you very
Thank you
much
for
being
having
here.
me. I
Yeah,
remember, you know what?
you
We
do.
we were friends and we lost touch. And then one day I was on the flight and I opened the magazine and right in the center, double page, it was the mayor of Anaheim, Curt Pringle. I'm like, oh, Curt, here, he's still here. So that's when we connected again.
Is
And
that right? I worry about you opening magazines.
yeah, on a plane, yeah.
Exactly.
That's because I can't get up and go to the bathroom. I'm Middle Eastern. I make people nervous. So I just read the magazine.
And it is interesting because we have maintained a friendship over these numbers of years during mayor time and afterwards. And your humor is so encouraging, fun. And I kind of wonder, is humor the same as it was back in the 90s? I mean, can you make the same types of jokes and the same stories and entertain the audience the same way, or what has changed since then?
What changes the audience, not the comedians. I mean, the comedians still love, we look at life and we say a joke, and some people think it's offensive or it's racial or it's this. But the comedians don't think of it that way. Comedians are looking for laughs, they're looking for jokes, they're not being mean. If you're mean, you don't make it in the business. But the people have changed. The people, especially nowadays with the woke culture and people, that, oh, you can't talk about this and you can't talk about, yes, you can. And when they started canceling comedians, I mean, right now every comedian in the country is in agreement. Like, stop this garbage. You know what? We are the jesters of the culture. Back in the kingdoms, when they had kings, the jester was the only one allowed to go before the king and say whatever he wants and not lose his head.
Exactly.
Because the king knew that I can learn about what's going on in the culture from the jokes that the jester is saying. Nowadays, when they say you can't talk about this and this, how can the people know what's going on when the comedians are not talking about it?
Yeah, no, that's funny. So I mean, life is humorous, right? I
Yes.
mean, and finding those points in life that people all live, but you can point that out and specifically find the humor in it or how we respond to certain things.
Right. And it's just like, for example, for elections, like people are always like in the US, like it's a big deal and you start 2 years before and all that. I'm like, I'm from the Middle East. We are so advanced. We know who's going to be president for the next 30 years.
Yeah, right.
And we don't have, we still vote. We go into the voting booth. There's the Secret Service guy with the gun, and you fill the one dot and you go out and say, thank God for our freedom. But here, just like you start to see, like when it comes time for the voting and the people are like fighting and this agreement out. And I'm thinking, you know what? I think instead when you vote, instead of giving you this, I voted.
Yes.
Now they should give you a sticker based on who you voted. Like, oh, you're a woke, you're a what do you call snowflake, you're prejudiced, you're racist, you're this. Just to give you the sticker based on who you voted for. But I think if we get Vegas involved, Curt, it'll be easy. Take the two candidates,
Yes.
and let them fight in an octagon,
Right.
and the winner becomes, the wins the election.
Yes. But we were even talking earlier how interesting it is that during this whole cycle with presidential debates and otherwise, I think the octagon with the pay-per-view would be good. I mean, some people would love to see pay-per-view during this election.
Yes,
I
yes.
think on, paying for the debates to see what's going on.
Yeah, I think one the stronger candidate will win.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? I mean, you were in politics, but you were an honest politician. You know how they start when they go against each other, the candidates, they start fighting and they lie. Even the word candid is in candidate. They start fighting, but then when one wins, they become like friends. It's like a reverse divorce. They start hating each other, but then they fall in love. I don't know.
Well, so we've fallen in love with you because you do talk about real life stuff, and then it comes back in a humorous way. So how did you get started in comedy? I mean, you immigrated to this country and you are now a citizen here for many, many years, and you
Yeah.
raised a beautiful, beautiful family. Old kids, I hear. But,
Yeah, they're older. They're never too old, you know. That
always
means
getting
I'll be
bigger.
old. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And to protect myself and keep myself look young, I never tell their age, and I never, it's like, oh, they're still kids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're all still good. So how did you get engaged in humor and comedy?
Humor. Well, I moved to the U.S. 40 years ago in 1984. I was living in the Middle East. I was living in Kuwait at the time. And then I moved here, and my mom, I went to University of Toledo, Ohio, because mom said, you're from the Holy Land, you're going to Holy Toledo. Nothing holy there. But a few years later, I moved to California, and I was doing accounting. I was working three jobs, 7 days a week, not even a day of vacation, a day of sick pay.
Like many
People,
immigrants are.
yeah, because to me it's not like I never wanted to use the system. I came to America to contribute. I came to America to make it. So I did it. I'm not, there's something against people using it for a season, but it was, for me, it was like, I'm not going to use the system. And then my mom and dad moved here because if you live in Kuwait or in Middle Eastern countries, if you don't have work, they kick you out. You know, you have to have a reason to be there. So they moved here, and I was taking care of them. We rented a house in Garden Grove, and so I worked so hard to make it. And one time I decided I want to run the LA marathon. I don't know why. I was smoking, doing drugs at the time. I'm like, I'll run 2 miles this year. Next year I'll run 2. If I do 26 miles in 12 years, I'll be fine.
Yes.
So I did. I just went there and I started running. And everybody was running around, thousands of people. And when they run around, you keep running with them. And my lungs were going, we didn't sign up for this. My said like, hey, you're on your own. We don't want to do this. Hey, leave us alone. And I made it. I finished it. Wow. And when I finished it, Curt, I said to myself, I can't believe I'm able to do this. So I said, what do I want to do in life that if I never get paid for it, I will do it to the best of my ability? I was making people laugh. So the next day I went to the LA Cabaret in the Valley, signed up. First night at midnight, 9 drunks, 2 of them fell off their chairs laughing. I knew that was it. And I started doing comedy, and the doors were open. I was performing in Vegas. I was doing, one of the new faces at the comedy club, the Improv, which is the most famous. I did the Store, the Laugh Factory. And then NBC was considering to do a sitcom for me called Fish Out of Water, a Middle Eastern Man in America. And then somehow someone invited me to church, and this whole thing was changed.
Right. Oh, so faith is a big part of your life, and
Huge.
You incorporate it in your humor. You incorporate your Christian faith and all you do, and that's another bond that we have.
Even when sometimes I made a deal with the Lord. I said, I want to honor you every time I go on stage. Even let's say I'm doing a corporate, and I'm not going to mention, my faith, or I'm talk about religion or preacher, but I know that I want to honor God with my humor, be the best comedian can be, and do that. When I'm doing a church, I have the freedom to be able to tell, I can make you laugh for 2 hours, and that's what we do at our events. But at the end, I want him to know who the source of joy is.
Yes.
And that's when I get to share about the Lord.
No, but that's wonderful. And you now continue to have gigs around the country, and last year you had 100 different
different dates in Canada and the U.S., all over. Before that, I was doing a lot with our military in Germany and other stuff. So yeah, I go all over the world to do that.
Yes. So I started out talking about how comedy has changed, and I think a lot of people point to the wokeism, but really also what topics are different today that were the humor points of the past. I mean, you've changed your act to reflect current things, right? And I mean, that's part of a comedian, is to talk the truth and make fun of that.
Right. We talk about I still have, we all as humans, we all have families. We either love them or hate them. So when you talk about family, you joke about struggles like financial struggle or health struggle. People relate to that. They can, I do a joke about AI. I go, I told my daughter I'm scared of AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
She goes, why, Dad? I go, we're creating something that's smarter than us. And she goes, Dad, you created me and I'm smarter than you. So that's why. And then I go, you know what? They're taking jobs away. And she goes, why are you worried? I go, I'm not worried, because I know 10 years from now, AIs from other countries like I will come here and take jobs away from our AIs. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
You get it, yeah.
Yeah, I follow that. So what can't you though make fun of today, right? I mean, and I know you're very concerned about having someone come to your performance or your show and getting too focused on current issues in the world that distract them from opening up and just feeling relaxed and enjoying
Right.
comedy.
My goal is to be a comedian. I'm not a politician. I mean, there's political comedians who have to keep up to date with what's going on. I think in our time now, people are more divided than ever.
Right.
And when they come to the show, I want to make sure I don't cause more division, because my goal at the end is maybe share my faith with them, or tell them about Jesus, or just make them leave feeling good. So I try to stay away from topics that I love to talk about, but I can't, because my goal is to unite the audience together. So there's topics, like I mean, I'm a big pro-life guy, but I'm not gonna joke about pro-life. I'm not gonna joke about certain issues with immigration and stuff, even though I'm an immigrant, and I joke about the struggles of immigrants. Like sometimes I think Siri want to deport me. Every time I say Siri, call home, it calls Homeland Security. I'm like, what are you doing? Stuff like that we struggle with. Like when like the other day, I was like, hey, Siri, can you play a worship song? And I played the Battle Hymn of the Republic. I'm like the USS, Gerald Ford. I'm like, no, not worship song, worship song. So it's just the accent and all that. But yeah, certain issues about immigration, certain issues about, but when you stick to family and how you love, you love your kids and you love your wife, and the relationship issues, they get along with that. I talk about what a great country, like Americans, you guys are the most philanthropist people in the world. When I came here, I learned how, Americans would give money. You would give money to anybody on GoFundMe. Like if there's a woman with no hair, Americans don't care. They'll give money. If a child with no hair, they give money. A man with no hair, nobody cares. A dog with no hair, you start like, oh, let me adopt that pooch. But a cat with no hair, that's a demon. And another thing, like I talk about, like, and you're in politics, I don't understand how the wealthiest nation in the world can be in $26 trillion debt. And I'm going, are we losing sleep? Are you losing sleep over there? I go, no, what are they going to do? Evict us? We'll come back through Mexico. I mean, this is, if we talk about topics like political topics or, issues, public policy issues, I think we can pay our debt in one day if we have a national garage sale. That's my thought, Curt.
Right.
Sell stuff we don't use, like Alaska. It's been up in the Arctic attic, nobody's drilling. Hey, we'll sell it. Do we really need 2 Dakotas, 2 Virginias, 2 Carolinas? No, sell them. What do you call it? Ellis Island. Nobody's coming through Ellis Island. You know where they come through. We can sell it. San Francisco. You can have it. I'll help you move it. I'm serious. I'll throw Portland on top of it, and you can buy it. See, that's how we can pay our debt.
Yeah, no, those are all good ideas.
Good ideas. I'm full of them.
And it's interesting though. You like everyone else in the world, I think, pivoted during COVID, and during that whole COVID period, I watched you online. You were doing stuff almost every night.
Every night, Laugh with Nat, just to help people cope with it, being alone and being scared what's going on, and just make them laugh.
Right, and I mean, I think that's kind of special, just a conversation with all of your followers. But COVID has changed a lot how comedy is accepted too. Wouldn't you say? I mean,
yes, to a degree. I mean, a lot of people just felt comfortable being at home watching comedy and watching church and watching stuff, than going out and laughing. And then somehow,
how long were you off? Actually, you and your family and my family were at a conference in Hawaii on that March day. I know specifically on March 18th.
I'll tell you why I won't remember that. I will remember it because you were so generous. I took my family to a restaurant, and when it was time to pay, she goes, it's taken care of. I go, who did that? She goes, Curt Pringle. I'm like, Curt, don't do that.
That's not what I want to talk
No,
about.
but the day we left, everybody on the plane was so quiet.
Right.
Nobody was talking.
Right.
And then they shut the country after that.
Right. Isn't that something? I mean, my daughter had just gotten married about 6 months. That was the first time she was away from her husband after they had been married. He had to work. She went with us to the conference. And so she was talking to her husband. We're in Hawaii. And Hawaii was, if you remember, kind of late into closure.
Yes.
In Anaheim, they'd already closed Disneyland and many other things. And her husband was saying, and the toilet paper's being bought off the shelves. There's no toilet paper. And we're at a hotel in Hawaii, and it's like, what are you talking about?
I know.
And it really was this disconnect. And I think through COVID, so many people had that immediate change, and then it took a long time to get back to normal. I mean, for you being a comedian who is on stage and in groups and having all these events, to go to zero, how long were you totally shut out from having public events?
Almost 2 years.
2 years.
And God took care of us, but it was because people started watching more online, and it started getting residual checks from all the concerts, all the the projects of that, but not enough. I mean, God took care of it. I don't know how, but we survived. But to answer your question, people became more suspicious after COVID. So right now, like before, they would come to a comedy club and they're ready to laugh. They don't care who you are. They just now they're like, is he with us or is he against us?
Yeah,
and that's
right. And I think that people look at that skeptically, the politicians or government activities or even their doctor. And so many parts in their life, that skepticism is still there.
Right.
That is something. What an impact that had on, certainly that type of career of yours. And I think we sometimes miss the really negative impact on restaurants, public spaces, concert venues. There's a little place in the desert in La Quinta. It's called Marvin's Magical Theater or something like that, where a guy just does magic. I think I've never gone, but I did drive by that so much and waiting to see whether that sign would be taken down, and it's still up. So even somebody who does simple performances like that, and their entire life is based upon those performances, and to think that you survived through COVID really is a very
it's God's providence, because people didn't want to get together, they didn't want to be close to each other, and some people didn't want to, but they wanted to laugh. And that's what brought us back. And for me to, in 2023, to have 100 shows in 1 year, where I thought in 21, 22, my career is over because nobody's going to come to the shows. But God just said, nah, I have a different plan.
Yeah, no, that's something. And part of what your story is, being a immigrant here and from the Middle East, and understanding all the various conflicts and pressures in the Middle East. You set up your own organization to support refugees coming to the U.S.
Because when I first came, nobody helped me. Nobody, like, I didn't know who to go to and who to ask. But when in 2003, we were at church at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, and a guy, blonde hair, blue eyes, walks to the Middle Eastern Bible study. He goes, "Can you guys teach me some Arabic?" And we go, "Why you want to do that?" He goes, "I want to be able to reach to some Iraqi refugees that came in because of the war in Iraq, and I want to tell them about Jesus." And it's like someone dumping a bucket of ice water on me, Curt. It's like, wait, we speak the language, we love the Lord, we want to reach people. Instead of us going to do mission work over there, God is bringing them here. So we started, me and an Iraqi lady from the church. We said, okay, let's just take our furniture, that people's furniture that they want to get rid of, and give it to these families. So we started doing that. Then we go, they need to speak English. So we found a building in La Palma, in Anaheim, off La Palma, and I went to the city. You were not, at that time, you were not the mayor. You were just done with, in 2003, you were gone, right? So I had to go and try to get permits to have 12 students in that building. By the time I got the permit, there were 40 students, so we had to use a church And then finally we got our building, and now, and we teach people how to drive. We have a driving simulator. We have 4 levels of ESL. We teach them how to do a resume, how to take their kids to school, and how to get a job. And praise God, since 2003, we serve 2,000 families a month here in Anaheim. And also, I have 10 employees, and I praise God. Now, I've never made a penny of this, and God just still takes care of my comedy. Every time I do something for Voice of the Refugees, God just brings me a show like, here's your payoff. So I'm not a debtor for you.
So first off, yes, I was elected in 2003. That's when I started. So I was probably too new to know what you were up to. And you're probably lucky I was too new to know exactly what you were up to.
Oh, okay.
So I was elected in 2002. But the point is, your organization is Voice of Refugees. Who do you, I mean, from which countries do you serve refugees?
It started with Iraqis, and then it went to Afghanis, and then it went to Syrians, and then we had some Somalis. Then I have a lot of Egyptian Coptics who were persecuted in the south of Egypt.
Coptics, Christians, orientation in Egypt.
Yeah, in Egypt, because they were persecuted by the Muslims in southern Egypt, so they moved to the U.S. Then we got back more Afghanis. We had some Iranians, and we have some Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians speak English. So they didn't have a problem. And the Afghanis, the husbands, speak English because they were all translators for the U.S. military. And that's how they were able to come here. And everyone that we serve is already documented. They already have their green card and work permit, because we don't vet them. The U.S. government does that, or the embassy where they come from. So when they come to us, they've already have their documents. All they need is to learn English, learn how to drive.
Know how to assimilate.
Yeah, we want them to assimilate. The last thing we wanted to do is to have a little China, a little Arabia, a little Mexico, a little. No, we want them to assimilate and be around. That's why we call churches like in Arizona. Hey, can you take this family or this? Just go. Just go and become a valuable members of society. Don't just hang around your own people and get food stamps and all that. That's the goal.
See, and I think that's what some people miss, how diverse a refugee population is. Around regardless of anybody's concern about the current southern border, the issue of taking in people who are refugees where there's war and that type of activity. I think this country's always been known for that.
Right. Yeah. Like almost everyone we served never came through the border. They flew in here.
Right.
And that's...
and they flew in because their
country is at war, or, there's a war. Mostly there's a war. Like Iraq, there was a war. Syria, there was a war. Afghanistan, there was a war. And that's how they must, Ukraine, there's a war.
Right.
So that's how we get them.
And I know, is it a benefit to serve what's the organization, Voices of Refugees? Do you do the benefit show to help them?
Yes, every year in September we do a banquet, a gala, and we give people opportunity to be able to just invest in the lives of these people. The ability to give someone hope is just amazing. Yeah. And Americans are generous and philanthropists, and they love to do that. So that's how we we raise our funds. And, I know my staff and they all get paid, but the board and myself, we don't. But it just, it takes money to run a ministry with 2,000 families that you serve and give food every Thursday.
And to think that someone with your knowledge and history coming here 40 years ago as a refugee, not necessarily fleeing a war-torn country, but someone who wanted to relocate here. Really, it's a special place for you to have that knowledge to be able to see what someone coming to this country would need.
Right, to know what their struggle, what they look like. Here's a funny story. Like, I didn't know.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. When I came here, I moved to California 3 years into this. So I was driving and I ran a yellow light. Yes. I know it was yellow. So I ran it, but I got a ticket. So I was going to pay it, but then a friend of mine who's been in the country a day longer, another immigrant,
Right.
he goes, oh, don't pay it, go fight it. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, go tell the judge it was a yellow light. I go, you can do that? He goes, this is America, man. Let's go for it. So stupid me, I went. I went to the judge in Orange County, and I put my arm on the bench. I'm like, excuse me, sir. He goes, back off from my bench right now, and it is your honor. You refer to me as your honor, and you go pay it. It was red, and you pay the court fees. So I did that. And God bless America, because in this country, you can be the chief of police, you can be the mayor, you can be a judge. Once you leave your job, you're equal to everybody else. Guess who came to my subway court the next day in Pomona? The judge. I look at him like,
Came
wait,
to your what?
to the subway. I was working at Subway.
Oh, okay.
That's my court.
Oh,
So I look at it and I go, can you back up from the glass, sir? It's Mr. Subway to you. And I have a true story. And I was like, hey, I go, what do you like? He goes, a foot-long tuna, white bread. I go, what kind of cheese? He goes, what do you got? I go, I got jack cheese, I got provolone, I got American. He goes, oh, I'm like, what? We can't make a quick decision here? Do we need a jury? He's like, what? I go, what else would you like? He goes, do you have lettuce? I say, yeah, lettuce, tomatoes. He goes, bell peppers. I go, yeah, I have green bell peppers, I have yellow bell peppers, I have red bell peppers. What would you like? He goes, I'd like some yellow bell peppers. So I put some red bell peppers. He goes, that's not yellow. I go, yes, it is. And I felt bad. So when it was time for him to pay, I go, it's on me.
Yes.
He goes, why? I go, so next time I'm in your court, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. But that's a story of someone telling me go and fight it when
Right.
you don't know the system. Where now if someone comes to me, he goes, oh, I can go fight it. I go, no. Just pay the fee. You don't need to worry about it.
Give him bad advice.
I am?
Oh, yes. If you're right, you fight.
Okay.
Come on. I need to come and speak to your folks
Yes. Okay.
in your class. But that is a good story. But it also says you do have your day in court, but it always doesn't turn your way.
It doesn't turn your way, right?
Exactly. But you can get back at somebody on the subway even when we are all above ground here. So
Yeah, but it's different. See, if you're born in a country and you lived in it all your life, and you have more confidence than when you come from a different place and you have to learn the culture and the language, and then you just wanna like walk along the side of the road where you don't cause any problems because you don't know what's gonna happen
yeah.
until you get your citizenship, and then you're like, okay, now I can just be another American.
Right.
Yeah.
And vote.
And vote. Yes, and vote.
That's when you get the chance to vote.
Yeah. And that's a privilege.
Yeah.
I mean, people generally are like, I don't want to vote. No, that's a privilege. Go and
A whole
vote.
bunch of names on the ballot, not just one.
That's right. We have one dot. Just you fill it up and you're done.
Exactly.
Amen.
Well, Nazareth, it's very nice that you came in today and shared some stories and really the exciting things you're doing today. So thank you very much.
I appreciate your friendship, and you've done so much for Southern California and for our country. So I appreciate you. And yeah, I'm a comedian full time. I want your audience to know I'm a full time comic. That's what I do. I'm not a politician. I'm not a refugee ministry leader, which
Right.
I do a lot of this, but I'm a comedian.
Right. And we'll make sure we put information on the site so everybody can know where to track
Yeah,
you down.
if they want clean comedy,
Oh, wait, or even your books.
Yes.
I didn't push your book.
you
Open
can.
24 hours.
Open
I know
20
that's a good one to talk about how you face struggles and challenges.
Exactly. And then I have another book called You're So Funny, Daddy, Learning How to Communicate with Children Using Humor for Men and Men's Conferences and stuff. That's a great topic to talk about.
It is. All right. Well,
Yeah.
do it next time then.
You have to trust me on this.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
I
for coming
appreciate
in.
it. Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
Heather.
Appreciate it.